Hello, good morning. It's a morning. How are we feeling? Yes? We ready? It's day 2, by the way, and it's Sunday. I checked it because I'm so lost in time and days today, but here we are. It also time for the panel discussion. So as Rasheen said, it's a topic that's been around, but we believe at RaySearch that not enough around. So let's put more focus on that, and focus being about AI in healthcare, and more specifically, how do we go from adoption to accountability? Because you walk around in the aisle here and you will see a lot of AI solutions already. But what's after that? Where do we go after it? And that's why we have 4 panelists with us today in this morning. And I would like to introduce all 4 of them. So I'll start with you, Charlotte. Hello. So nice to see you here. How are you feeling this morning?
Yes, great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, so happy to see you. Then we have Anna as well. How are you feeling, Anna, today?
Hello, everybody. I'm good.
You're good? Yeah. Anna said that she doesn't need caffeine to wake up in the morning. And I think that's pretty impressive. All right. And then we have Michele as well, coming here from CHUV in Switzerland.
Hello, everyone.
Yes. How are you
For
feeling?
the invitation. I'm fine.
Have you had any coffee yet?
Awake, yes, and should be fine.
Great. And then from RaySearch, we have Fredrik, Löfman. How are you feeling today?
Very good, thanks. Great to be here with this company today.
Yes, I feel we have great company here in the panel and in front of us. So let's kickstart this panel discussion. And to do that, as always, I like to put a little bit of context to put everyone at the same page. So let's talk about AI in healthcare and its landscape. So a little bit of numbers, where it stands. So I think it is largely trending, that's for sure. So this is the number that what is the just the market size, global market size in 2025 for AI solutions in healthcare, and it's reaching up to $40 billion. So it's quite a big market, and they are predicting that their growth is increasing by 40%. Then when it goes to native AI in healthcare companies, we have more than 2,000 of these companies registered. And when it comes to FDA authorized AI medical devices, we have more than 1,300 that are listed as of the end of last year. And I believe only in 2025 there was how many? Almost 300 cleared AI solutions or AI-enabled medical devices only last year. So the growth is here. And then when it comes to adoption attitudes, so these are the numbers from 2025 study and survey done, where almost 3/4 of healthcare providers said that they would use at least any AI solution for at least one of their clinical tasks. So the attitudes are getting more positive, I would say. And but RaySearch has noticed that way back. So I believe, Fredrik, was it 2017 when the machine learning department was established at RaySearch?
Yeah, so next year is a 10-year anniversary.
Yeah, so in less than 10 years, RaySearch has produced, developed, and cleared offer for clinics 2 AI solutions. So one of them being deep learning segmentation and the other one deep learning planning. Very briefly about them. So when it comes to deep learning segmentation, so these are the latest models that we have with our latest release. So with this one, we have 231 ROIs for CT model, basically covering the whole CT body. So if you would like to see it, come please. We have many demonstrations for that. And it's pretty fast as well. It's less than a minute for almost 200 structures. When it comes to deep learning planning, so we are releasing new models, and we're also reaching on the modalities as well. So there are 12 models for photons and then 3 models for protons, also making it easier to configure for users with the new UI available in the latest release. And these are numbers of what is the clinical usage, because I think when it comes to AI in healthcare, the biggest issue is not about the number of solutions and companies and what is being offered. The problem is what is being used. And how do we get away from this AI fatigueness? And to get away from there is to evaluate what is the real adoption. So these are the numbers of segmentation users that we had so far across the years. So you can see it's increasing as well. And these are for the deep learning planning. So that number is also increasing. So we're here, right? So we have solutions that are AI driven in radiotherapy and being used, deployed already in clinics at scale, at least 10,000s or hundreds of thousands when it comes to segmentation. So the question today is, how do we ensure that that the solutions that we have already rolling out are being governed, monitored, and validated in a proper way? All right, so let's kick the panel discussion with the first question, and that being, so what does good enough validation book look like for AI in clinical use? And when it comes to who takes that responsibility, is it regulators, clinicians, vendors, or scientific community? Anna, would you like to start?
I can
this
start.
year? Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe I start with the second part. Who should define that standard? To me, clinicians and the scientific community should lead the discussion. Vendors should fulfill the needs of that community, and regulators should be in support. And that border, I think, needs to be clear and should not be crossed, because when, for instance, regulators are before and then they take the lead, we are in the risk of making overprotective laws that at the end hamper progress, right? So I think, to me, it's clear that clinicians and the scientific community should lead that, define standards, and vendors should be, of course, with a good economic model, should fulfill those needs, and regulators be in support. About good enough, I don't think nobody knows. I don't think we have the answers. Me, myself, in my research, I try to work on what is a good test set, what is the perfect test set, but unfortunately we don't have the answer. So I think we still need to work on that, right? Maybe you can comment on that.
No, I agree that, of course, the vendors, they implement a certain product and they have to go through the whole pipeline before bringing it to the market. And that's already addressing many issues regarding safe usage. But then when it comes to the clinic, you have to make sure it runs in your own environment. And every clinic has a different environment, the different routing of segmentations, for example. And I think it's very important that you make sure that it fulfills your clinical guidelines in your own center. And therefore you can do a commissioning, like a brief check. But also within the clinical use, we come into that later with the monitoring part. I think it's important. And what's good enough, that's really, I think, the key question. We are trying now to address with the scientific community. Can we make standards on when it's good enough? And it comes to like planning optimization. If you have a certain organ at risk in your planning optimization, and it's very important to have a correct dose reported, then of course this dose deviation should be, I think, we should have clear guidelines for what kind of dose deviation or dose uncertainty can we accept. So more working towards uncertainty levels and agree with together on what we can accept and what we cannot. And of course, already we have a lot of uncertainty, because if one planner, if you compare one planner to another, it makes a completely different treatment plan. Or if you ask one clinician to draw a certain volume, it can deviate from another clinician. So I think those two things should come together to have insight in the uncertainty and also have a consensus statement on what we can accept to be good enough.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just want to add maybe a comment, but probably we will take afterwards, about the role of the vendors.
Yeah.
Probably as users, we should expect, let's say, much more communication and also a level of transparency, the range of validity of, especially the treatment planning, more than segmentation, because of course they can vary according to, the output can vary according to the machine you're using, the dose, prescription, and so on. So yeah. But probably we will take it afterwards. Yeah.
That's another source of uncertainty.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? All right. So from what you're saying, I feel like there is a logical order. So scientific community come first, then vendors, then regulators. And would you agree from the vendor side, Fredrik? Should be the order of.
Yeah, what's the order? No, but I think last few years there has been an alignment coming in between scientific community, vendors, and to some extent regulators. I think 5 years ago, 10 years ago, there was no alignment. And we will come back to the model card publication. That's one great example. But I think we see now that we know we need to test internally, we need to test externally, and we need to test in certain ways with certain criteria. And when I see publications, when I see, in the discussions, I see that we are pretty much thinking along the same lines. So it's probably more about fixing some details and setting the consensus.
Yes. So at the end of the day, it comes to like a clear communication between all of these pillars, and also making it sure that no one goes in between before it's supposed to, right?
Maybe a comment on the good enough. I just thought about a bit of promotion on the next ESTRO workshop, because some people think that to know how good enough a model is, some experts need to define a benchmark dataset. Besides your validation on your local dataset, we should have like standardized datasets to validate on, to define what's good enough. And there will be an ESTRO workshop for data interoperability that they will look at that in October. So that's maybe also a first step on our community to take a look at this good enough on benchmarking datasets.
Definitely, I agree. It should be a range that what is good enough. It's always a range, but that range can be standardized if we go a little bit more on scale. Or, as it goes, the another question. So, when we talk about, okay, we develop or we go towards having more standardized way of developing AI, but how do we ensure that when it comes to these evidence that our whole AI is deployed across diverse institutions, scanner types, and patient cohorts? How do we approach this then?
Well, I think this is quite hard unless we do something like a multi-institutional validation, for instance. Then in that case, you can really understand if a model which was built for a specific clinic can also work for other clinics. Because otherwise, especially, in oncologic patients, fortunately, are smaller than any radiological department, so we don't have numbers. And this goes also enough numbers, let's say. And this goes also when we do validation. Why we do validation with a small cohort? Because we don't have numbers unless we gather all the patients all together. So I think one solution can be either what Anna was saying, take a standardized large cohort of patients that we can use for doing everything, or otherwise working together.
Yeah. Fredrik, how is it from the vendor side?
Yes, I think this is probably the question that we and many other vendors here are thinking about more or less every day. So how do we test on a few hundred data sets and deploy it to a few 100,000 data sets, making sure it works as good as possible and the models are as robust as possible across that whole distribution. And the best thing, and it was already said by Anna, so you kind of stole my line here, but what we should do is to have golden standard data set pre-release that vendors, researchers, anyone can benchmark on. Because then with a lot of complex cases, edge cases and so on, so we can consistently check on that. In that way we can have some kind of quality metric, we are going in the right direction, etc. The other part is post-release, of course, and then we come back to, okay, we need to have closed feedback loop about getting data back, getting failure cases back, getting comments back, getting that and processing that in an efficient way so that the changes, the improvements come out fast. So I think it's both pre and post-release we need to improve here.
Definitely. And I feel like stealing the lines is already a good sign of good communication. So you're in sync. Charlotte?
I just wanted to comment on that because, I think that for also within RaySearch, in the RaySearch community, it's a big opportunity to share experiences with the use of the deep learning segmentation models. So maybe we can have in the Ray community or somewhere a place to share where certain cases or experiences, and therewith learn from each other and have a faster adoption and a faster update of things.
Maybe being a bit more provocative here.
Please, I like it.
Yes, like it has been always a question generalization, but do we really need to generalize to everything because it's impossible to anticipate? So to me, validation is important, but it's more important than monitoring. So you should validate on your local data, but if you have a good monitoring, it doesn't matter that you did not anticipate all the failure modes because you will detect them later. So with a good enough, we need to define what's good enough validation on your local data set and a good monitoring. I think you cover the safety of your models.
Yes. So this is where it could become like very cumbersome in the beginning phase of developing technology, and then when it's actually being rolled out, then the accountability is being lost, right? So the monitoring part that doesn't become that strong enough.
Yeah. For instance, yesterday during the morning session, they showed that the number of, well, there are a lot of papers published on validation, but very few papers published on the monitoring. And when in these few papers, actually the quality of the auto planning, this was the case, was lower than the quality gotten during the validation because of the size of the numbers.
Yes. All right,
So
and
it's very
we are quite eager to go to monitoring, right? Maybe we should go directly to the monitoring part and start talking about this one. But before that, I would just like to give a shout out because I believe there already been so measurable efforts going more towards standardized validation. And I know that Anna and Charlotte, yourself, you've been involved in creating a model card. So I think that's great efforts, and it's one of the examples where the community could go, start trying to define the good enough standards.
Yes. Yes, the model card is of course a good example. What can I say? We developed it and we are very happy of the results. The name is AID-RT, so Artificial Intelligence Documentation for Radiation Therapy.
Yes.
And we have a publication in FIRO that you can take a look. Otherwise, we do also have a Streamlib application. It's RT bar model card. Streamlit, you can find it online.
Yes.
And besides that, I don't think we still have a lot of examples of standardization. Maybe the challenges Sintrat for synthetic CT, Sintrat 2023, 2025, they really did a good job on gathering data from different locations for synthetic CT, from MR and CBCT, and also having some standardized metrics with functions to calculate for all the participants in the challenge. So challenges are also a good example of standardization. Early benchmarking of the models.
Just to add that I think that the vendors can provide these model cards, so that will really help the clinics to implement. But maybe also some validation commissioning code that people can run the same metrics and compare the same metrics together. But we should also be aware that the golden standard is always dependent on your own clinic, and we see in practice we see a lot of variability there. So if you see differences in performance, it's often not about the technology, but it's about our clinical, the clinical use style and usage. So be aware of those differences, and I think it's also then a big quality improvement if we can have more consistency using the same models. But then the models should, of course, all be validated and standardized based on the guidelines we're achieving, we hope to achieve.
So just a comment, because I think we are now heading into the era of target volume automation, and I think that's going to put more pressure and challenge us even more on standardization, variability between different oncologists, etc. So I think we need to set the stage with organs at risk first in order to be able to move to target volumes, because I think it's going to become a pretty tough task in terms of governance. And how should we quality control what we release, and how should the clinics adopt to that, etc. I think that's going to be an interesting one the next few years.
But hopefully the frameworks that we already established for organs at risk could be applied for target volumes as well. Hmm?
Yeah.
Yes, Sarah?
I just remember that there is also a group working on consensus guidelines from ESTRO for contouring for the organs, not for target volume. This is being done, and they will come up with some validation standardizations on what the clinics will do. So that is coming up too.
Yes, and I think that's already a great number of examples where efforts pay off, and we have these concrete examples. And knowing that the field is still quite young, we're not talking about decades; we're talking still about years. I think it's a great result of a need and people coming together to meet that need. And just to bridge to the other side, to the other area of this discussion. So monitoring, right? It's very important. So we talked about validation, how it is becoming with monitoring. And Charlotte, you mentioned about vendors also being offered and a part of that conversation and offering more of including more users into that loop, into that feedback. So I just want to mention that we are at RaySearch are enrolling a feedback survey. So that goes into the monitoring or our approach into monitor the models, the segmentation models that we have now in the clinics. So it's qualitative feedback that we like to gather and then include that in the next development or to monitor the performance of our models. So another example from vendors' side into how to go towards more accountability. Now for the monitoring. So once an AI tool is cleared and deployed, so we're here, right? It's validated, let's say, some sort of good enough standards are being applied. Who is responsible for detecting that performance drift? The clinic, the vendor, or is it a shared obligation that field hasn't yet properly defined? And we briefly touched all of that, but when it comes to performance drift, if you see something that is not performing at the clinic for AI solutions, who do you think it should be the first one in the line at being responsible? Okay.
Well, maybe it depends about, maybe we can talk about, it depends about what is the drift, performance drift. It is the workflow drift, it is because of the clinic, it is data drift again. But then, of course, I can talk about our experience. We work together with research. And of course, from your side, we do expect a sort of model maintenance for every new version of the TPS. And of course, from our side, every new release of the model should be revalidated as it was the first one, let's say, with the same cohort of patients, for instance.
Yep.
But yeah.
I can just comment on the vendor side here too. With every release, we make sure that the model is not drifting compared to the last version, right? Unless we have improved it. So that's one important part. But then we have the other kind of drift, as you allude to, is the usage and the refinements of the results of AI. And if there is a drift there in kind of over-trusting the AI results, for example, and to flag that early. And I think in the end, the vendors should provide tools for this, but in the end, it's up to the clinic to, in one way or another, detect these patterns and act on them.
Definitely. Charlotte?
Indeed, and I think that the vendors are, of course, from a regulatory point of view, obliged to do a kind of post-market surveillance on a certain tool. And the clinics, I think we should work together to define that standard. That is not really properly set yet.
Yes.
Our experience, we also monitor segmentation drift over time. And there we see the added patterns over time, and then we can make sure that there's no automation bias. Sometimes automation bias can be a good thing because we want to achieve more consistency.
Yes.
But that's something that you can monitor and also use to teach your clinical staff again. And I think it's a very powerful tool that would also help the RayStation product and the users to be more on board and have more trust at the end in the deep learning segmentation. So,
yeah. I know what you're okay. I feel like this is when it comes to this performance drift. It's also what is drift, as you said, Michele. It's multi-layered. So it could be technological drift, but it could also be just like human drift, right? How you use that, then that has to be approached differently and be separated as well.
Yeah, for us the human drift is by far the most important one we have encountered. But maybe it can be different for other clinics.
All right, and you already shared, Charlotte, your views of what it could be these technological solutions that will help clinics to monitor AI performance, and but what it takes to adopt them. So these these solutions that would help to monitor and make it a routine in clinic.
Yeah, for us, we have a third-party commercial product, and it's all the auto segmentations are saved there, and the final clinical segmentations are saved. And then we have an automated trend analysis over time. So I think it's very important to have this flexible infrastructure that you can automatically save it, and then it's a matter of teaching the staff using it.
And you already have experience of that using that monitoring tool, right?
Yes.
Yes. And how is it going? How's the adoption of that tool within your team?
Yeah, we're still finding the right frequency to discuss it, because of course you can have it on a daily basis. You can flag outliers, but most of the times those outliers are known outliers, and that also fits with the current clinical practice, where we still check every contour. So still all the slices are checked. But more in the near future, we want to have more automation, and then it might be more important to have on a daily basis flagging. But for now, it's more like on a 3 monthly basis that we sit together and we analyze the trends, and then we can also see with the technicians if they still have the same correction patterns. So, for example, for the parotid glands, we know that there is always variability in the cranial and the caudal extent, and that's very consistent over time. So we have used several auto segmentation solutions, also from different vendors. But now for the DLS and the RaySearch, we still have the same corrections, and so we are very confident that our staff is performing consistent over time. So that's a nice nice evaluation.
And I think the time scale is key here. How to have that evaluation over time and see these trends.
Yes, and to finally improve your models where it's a consistent edit is mentioned. And I think it's also powerful that we are able to compare over different clinics if we are having the same experiences, if you can thereby improve the models and also the practice.
Yes. Yeah, Michele?
Also, one thing which is important, at least for us, is the knowledge transfer within the department. Because not always all the people are involved using these tools, whether it's auto-segmentation or auto-planning. So it's very important that people that are getting started with these new tools, they know what they are doing and what are the expected results with respect to the manual workflow, let's say.
Yeah, definitely. Fredrik, do we have something to offer with this regard from RaySearch?
Yeah, it's a leading question. Before I answer that one, it's a cliffhanger. I thought about online adaptive, because I mean that's obviously something we promote here, and I think it's a hot topic in this conference. And the performance monitoring might become very important for online adaptive for the segmentation side of things. Since there's less time, there might be other types of workflows or processes for the review in online adaptive, and then this becomes an even more important potentially task. So we have developed deep learning segmentation performance monitoring with a release coming now in June in RayStation RayIntelligence. I mean, essentially we track the changes done on the DLS output, we compute the metrics in terms of dice and in terms of correction rates, etc. And then display that in RayIntelligence, the analytics tool we have, and in that way you can over time follow what's going on. What we want to add that we don't have it done yet is to put in also the correction times. How much time do you spend doing the corrections? Because that's more and more becoming an important metric to measure for the clinics. So that's something we're working on.
Yes. Taps into the same question from another angle. Is there like a skill degradation that is happening, or it's also a case and environment you use deep learning segmentation also matters? For example, online adaptive. All right, great. So we touched a little bit as well these aspects of how to keep human in the loop, right? And Michele, this is what you said already. It's like this, for example, knowledge sharing, right? So how do we handle these AI? AI handles all the routines, right? But how do we prevent that from humans not looking into anything that's been enrolled and supported by AI at all?
Well, this is the question, I would say. Well, I can just share what we do,
Yeah.
what we thought about. We are doing, okay, not only knowledge and transfer, but also periodical training of people. And also, I don't know if it is a good idea or not, we are doing, because, sometimes you don't know if the task you are doing in checking your auto contouring is more time consuming than the task that you are doing manually, for instance. So now we are doing also some periodical manual benchmarking of the structures and also of the plans. But plans are from physicists, okay, and the auto contouring is from radio-oncology side. So we are doing this periodical benchmarking, but I don't know if it is a good solution. This is what we thought.
But how is it working for your team? Is it being adopted, like, generally?
Well, for me, okay, it's always a topic about medical physicists and radiation oncologists.
Yes.
Medical physicists are much more, let's say, critic, and what we do with our group is doing really manual benchmarking of the plan sometimes, and I would say let's say every 2 months, something like that. And because sometimes when we see a plan which is not looking very, very good, we try to do something manually just to see if we can improve it or not. And in this way, you keep your knowledge about manual planning as well. And from the radiation oncology side, they are a bit more lazy than us. So sometimes, we encourage them to draw manually the structures. But it's a bit difficult, a little bit difficult.
Yeah, but I think it's also they need to learn a new skill. So how to delineate with the tool. So
Yes.
Where to see possible risks, or and that's something that they can learn, and then just as another colleague assess the contour. For auto planning, we're doing a similar approach as you proposed. So just a regular manual planning to keep up with the skills. Yeah.
Yeah, there was an outcome from that workshop for AI for the fully automatic treatment chain. And they did the analogy with the aviation industry. And we were talking about, because the aviation industry has been years and years that they do the thing automatically, and only the pilot is trained on simulations to do the thing manually when needed, right? But they do it automatically all the time. So I think this is similar to what you just said. We should have periodic training on manual tasks, maybe extract from the monitoring what are the most difficult cases, and then train the people on doing the manual work on that. The periodically, I don't know how to define it, if it's 3 months, 2 months, 6 months, but definitely you need from time to time to train on simulated data.
But this is where also I would raise a little bit question, go a little bit offside. But let's say in the future there will be even more AI solutions if the trend is keep continuing. And then should we have somehow standardized retraining? So that's the question. Should it be periodical? What is the period? Should we define some sort of standards? What is a good enough periodical retraining?
Yeah. I'm not sure. I don't have much experience in the clinic, but the ESTRO does this contouring workshop, right, for educational. So maybe now we need to shift towards integrating the AI and doing this in the context that we are now, with editing the AI tools and maybe learning some cases that are relevant for AI failures, because not everything is relevant, right? So
that's correct. And I also think it's very important to start implementing and make it a habit that if you're using AI tools to be retrained or go back to the manual, it has to become a part of a process. So then no one is asking why I need to do it. It's part of the process, right?
Yeah, indeed. I think we should have a risk-based approach that holds for all the tools in the radiotherapy workflow. Also, when do we stop QAing the dose calculation algorithm, or when do we trust the segmentation AI model enough? So I think if we can monitor, detect them automatically somehow, that would be, of course, the dream. And then we can spend more time on the difficult cases and free up our time for the standard workflow. So that would be the main goal.
Yes. Can technology offer this automation flaggings? What do you think, Fredrik?
Yeah, I think we should provide tools flagging outliers out of intended use cases. That is doable. And then, of course, you shift the problem one layer, right? Because then we have to validate that it's flagging correctly. So it's not that it's very easy to say, but there are some practical considerations. But that is doable. We have done some testing internally. But I'm kind of an optimist on this one because I think, automation is here to stay, but I also think critical thinking is here to stay. Maybe I should be more worried on this, but I think we will find solutions to keep up the knowledge to detect cases where there's problems and so on.
Great. Shall we end the panel on this optimistic note, right? And I mean, optimistically, I feel like RaySearch is trying to be a part of that conversation, is trying to go towards more accountable AI usage at healthcare in radiotherapy. And this is just one of the examples that Fredrik mentioned already. It's in Ray Intelligence. So in the next release, we are introducing one of our product monitoring approaches to begin with deep learning segmentation. And I mean, the product monitoring, as we talked, AI or any other should be monitored or somehow tracked over time. And let's start with deep learning segmentation and see if we can expand to this whole field in the future. But for today, I would like to thank you so much, all four of you, Charlotte, Anna, Michele, Fredrik. I think it was great. I think it's needed. I hope you enjoyed. Did you enjoy it? Did you learn something, Charlotte, today? Something new?
I think it was a really nice discussion.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, thanks for moderation.
Yeah, thank you. Anna, how was it?
Yeah, thank you. It was great.
Yeah, great. Michele, it's still good?
Also for me, yeah, very nice.
Yes, all right. Fredrik, last words?
I mean, I had high expectations and they were definitely met here, so super happy.
All right, we end high and optimistic. So thank you for now.